Hey guys, welcome to WDWNT Nerd Alert. I'm your host, Joe Hogarty, and joining me tonight is Jack McCarthy.
Howdy, folks.
So on tonight's show, what we're going to do is we're going to go over The Bad Batch, the first episode, and we'll also get into some news. But first, I was going to ask you, Jack, so how did you celebrate Star Wars Day?
How did we celebrate Star Wars Day? Well, we celebrated it. Well, I did. My son watched Star Wars on and off all day. Me, I watched The Bad Batch.
Okay,
that was about it.
I ended up watching the day before I watched Solo and Rogue One, which I hadn't seen in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of cool. I actually wrote for Tom. I ranked all the Star Wars movies, including Solo and Rogue One. I got some feedback. Some people didn't like my rankings. Let me see if I can remember. I had Empire Strikes Back as number 1.
Of course.
A New Hope as number 2. The Force Awakens is number 3. Return of the Jedi is number 4. The Last Jedi is number 5. Solo was number 6. Revenge of the Sith was number 7. Rogue One was number 8. Phantom Menace was number 9. That's right. And then Attack of the Clones was number 10. And then Rise of Skywalker was bottom.
Right at the bottom for you.
Yeah. I still felt like, again, I think those bottom 2 are really bad movies. I mean, both of them. But at least, again, with Attack of the Clones, they did have some sort of plan, where Rise of the Skywalker, they didn't. And it was more significant that Rise of the Skywalker got it right than basically, what was that? That was like the 5th movie, the Attack of the Clones, because, we had the 3 before. Mm-hmm. So, it's not that big of a deal that they messed it up. And it was unfortunate that it sucked. But they really screwed it up with the Rise of Skywalker. And that was supposed to be the ending, the climax, the final for the Star Wars or the Skywalker saga. And it just sucked. I can't watch that movie anymore. It just irritates the hell out of me just thinking of it. I just don't like it.
Like I said before on it, people give The Last Jedi a lot of grief. But you know what? That movie I enjoy more each time I watch it.
Me too.
I think it's just better than a lot of the Star Wars movies out there. I mean, it's something different, granted, but I seem to find something I like more in it each time I watch it, and little details. There's some things I think are gross. The whole Luke Skywalker having his daily cup of milk, that's kind of irksome. But overall, Last Jedi is pretty good. I almost wish that we had gotten Rian Johnson's wrap up instead, because he was taking things in a different direction than we've seen. But if you just try that movie without the hate built in because of how they treated Luke Skywalker, as you watch it, you kind of get it a little bit more of why he went into seclusion. But I think that's a much better film than people give it credit for. I think your ranking is just totally horrible, Joe.
All of them?
No, I'm only kidding. I do think Rogue One deserves higher on the list.
Everybody says that to me, and that's what I got the most emails about. It's like Solo over Rogue One. I enjoyed Solo. Solo was a heist movie.
I like Solo as well. That should definitely be up there.
And they had fun characters in that, like, that robot. I forget what her name was, but she was actually fun. And, the crew that Han Solo was with Woody Harrelson.
Yeah. Oh, no. Cool. I think that's another victim of people just being too hard on a movie. I don't think Disney marketed it properly, but
no,
we've talked before about it, that we've yet to actually meet people who seriously dislike that movie. Everybody that I've seen, I've been like, the worst reaction is, oh, it's been okay. But a lot of people really liked that movie. And it was just marketed terrible. And unfortunately also hitting the peak of fan hate them, for lack of a better term, because you know what, for a while it got cool to hate on Star Wars. So everybody hated Star Wars. But you know what? Solo was a pretty good movie, and Ron Howard did a good job on it, cleaning up whatever he had to do. So Ron Howard ranks up there. Give Rian Johnson and Ron Howard another Star Wars movie to work on.
Well, I think their problem too was back then they aired their dirty laundry. They shouldn't have, like when they fired, was it Phil Lord and Chris Miller, or it might be whatever. They fired them. They didn't like the stuff that they did, but a lot of their stuff is still in there. It's kind of like, I guess, when Joss Whedon came in to fix the Zack Snyder's Justice League. Again, we don't know who did what and what, but this seemed more successful, whatever. So we don't know if it was so bad, or it might not have been that bad that Ron Howard didn't have to do that much to it. Or vice versa. It could have been horrible and Ron Howard fixed a lot of it. But whatever it was, it worked. You know, it was pretty good. I would say like one of my biggest problems with it, although I like was it Alden Ehrenreich who played Han Solo? He just couldn't fill his shoes. He had such big shoes to fill. He doesn't have the charisma of Harrison Ford's Han Solo, where if you remember in Star Trek with Chris Pine, you know, he did a great job as Captain Kirk. That whole crew, when you think about it, everybody was good, you know?
I think he did a good job as Han Solo. You're right about having big shoes to fill, but if people would have stopped comparing him to Harrison Ford, they probably would have enjoyed the movie a lot more.
I always say too, what they should have done if Disney was smart. Well, first of all, what they did is they should have released it in December, like where they release most of their Star Wars movies. I think this one came out in May or June or something like that. And
it was set because for a while there, we were like every Christmas we're getting a Star Wars.
Yeah.
And then they broke the cycle, and what they put it out 2 weeks before Endgame, or was it Infinity War?
I forget.
They put it out like 2 weeks before an Avengers movie. And how moronic is that? Because the MCU is just a juggernaut. And especially an Avengers movie, you don't put your own franchises head to head against each other and expect to have two winners at the box office, because you're going to end up with number one and number two, but what's the drop off usually in the second week of a movie? Isn't it some like ridiculous movie like 40%, 50%?
Yeah.
So yeah, Solo comes out the next weekend. It takes the hit for the 40 to 50, and then you decimate it because everybody's going to go see the Avengers movie.
Well, I remember also, now I'm thinking back to what happened. Mary Poppins Returns, they decided to push to December, and they didn't want those two movies competing with each other.
Yeah, because they're exactly the same audience is going to go see Mary Poppins and Star Wars.
Well,
same demographic, I tell you.
It was a mistake. Whoever, decided to do that stuff or did the scheduling should have been fired.
Yep.
Because they should have reversed it in a way, No,
I think Mary Poppins is that is a holiday movie is good.
But it sucked.
Did you ever see it? Thanksgiving.
Did you see it?
I never made it through it because I didn't enjoy it.
I almost walked out of it.
Quite frankly. Yeah. I tried watching it because Emily Blunt, I could stare at her on the screen anytime.
She was a good Mary Poppins.
But I just didn't like it. I didn't get through it.
It was the same story as the first one. It's like where the adults were now Mr. Banks, where they were too busy to play with their kids, and they had to bring in a new Mary Poppins. And they were like, we imagined all this Mary Poppins stuff. It never happened. And I think that irritated people. Anyway, it was not good. So that was my Star Wars day. I wanted to say this too. I was going to ask you, did you ever watch was it Invincible on Amazon Prime?
Invincibles? No, I haven't.
Yeah, I watched that the other day.
He's like a blue and yellow suit, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I remember from the comics. I've been meaning to watch it because it's gotten a lot of positive talk about it.
I think it came out at the end of March, and I just haven't watched it. I mean, I saw it on my Amazon Prime. I just wasn't interested in it because I didn't really follow, Invincible in the comics.
Hmm.
That was an Image comic, but I decided, I think, yeah, yesterday I decided to watch it, and I started at 2, and it was 8 episodes, and I finished at 8. I went right through it. I've never
You
done
just
that
binged
before.
it, huh?
I binged it. I've never binged anything before, but it was great. Like, it starts off a little slow, but the end of episode 1 is mind blowing. And it looks
Really?
like it's over, and because the credits start rolling, but then they start going into another scene, and it goes on for another 10-15 minutes, and mind blowing. I mean, the whole thing is amazing. First of all, I mean, it's like, do you know the story of Invincible at all?
I honestly don't know anything about it. I mean, um, I never picked it up. After the big rush at Image, I was kind of done with it. The only thing I stuck with was Wildcats for a while,
Me too.
and then I dropped all of them. I didn't stick with them. So by the time Invincible came around, I was already done.
Well, this one, it's weird. The one thing I hate about this is his costume. I think it looks ridiculous. Looks like he's got like these bug eyes,
No,
like a
I think the
beetle.
costume is pretty good.
I don't like the eyes on his costume. It looks really weird. Kind of looks like a bug or a fly or something like that. Um, but it's basically his father, who's voiced by J.K. Simmons, is Omni Man, who's basically Superman. He comes from another planet. He was sent here, and he basically, he lives amongst the humans, and he marries somebody, and they have a child who ends up eventually being invincible. And it's mostly about his
You're not
life.
spoiling it for me, are you?
No, that happens like within the first 10 minutes.
Okay.
But I'm not going to spoil the rest of it for you. But a lot of the characters that are in it are total ripoffs of DC and Marvel. Like, again, Omni-Man is Superman. You have a Batman character. You have a Wonder Woman character. You have a Flash character. You have a Hulk character. You even have like a what is he? Who's that guy? I keep forgetting. Oh, Hellboy. You have a Hellboy character too.
Well,
But
I mean, there's only so many superhero archetypes you could use. So,
well, if you saw them, you'd be like, yeah. I'm surprised nobody sued them. I guess they didn't care or anything. But regardless, the one thing that I found really cool about this is that I really didn't know any of the characters at all. And I felt like a little kid getting into comics for the first time and meeting heroes you never heard before. And you're just basically seeing them for the first time. And it's a good story. It's like, I've never seen anything like this animated for like with DC and Marvel, puts this to shame. Anything that DC and Marvel did is nowhere close to what they did with the Invincible. And
really,
it feels like a real TV series. Like, you get so drawn into it, it doesn't feel like a cartoon. It even feels like a movie. And I'll tell you right now, I'm going to give it a rating. I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. I mean, it was that
wow,
good.
that's a lot for you.
Yeah, because it was very shocking. It's very gory.
I didn't
Definitely.
realize that you knew ratings went that high.
Yeah. I definitely check it out, Jack. I think you'd really like it. It's
I
a
will
lot
have
of
to check
fun.
it out. I've been meaning to. I mean, I flip through, Disney Plus, Prime, Peacock all the time. So I've been meaning to watch it.
Yeah, I would definitely give that a watch. I think you'd like that. It's just, again, it's I think it's even better than The Boys. I was really surprised because I didn't. I was like, I'm going to watch the first episode, see if I like it, and then the conclusion
Then you
of the
spend
first.
7 hours in front of
Well,
the
that's what
TV.
happened. I told you that the first episode at the end, it's kind of slow. It's like, yeah, it's nothing special. Nothing special. Whoa. Whoa, and then you had to watch the second episode immediately. The end, the eighth episode is the last episode. The end battle. Oh my God. It's a thing of beauty. You have to see it. It's something I would have loved to seen in the Superman movie. I think I'm going to watch that over and over again. It's just incredible. It's just so well filmed or animated. Anyway,
Okay.
Gushing
I'll
off
check it
with
out.
this one. All right, so let's get into the news.
Okay.
So, so for Star Wars Day, we got a brief look at the Star Wars Galaxy Cruiser hotel that Disney is going to be opening, I guess, in 2022 at Disney World. And we got our first look at the Star Wars lightsaber that we were talking about, I think maybe even last week. And you called shenanigans.
I still call shenanigans.
Well, you're crazy, dude.
I still call shenanigans. I'm sorry. Part of the fun of lightsabers is being able to go out and beat each other up with them. And even if that footage was actual and not mocked up somehow, I don't see how they're going to be able to make a lightsaber that does that you can go out and have a duel with.
Well, this is what I think. I think it's going to be used by Rey and whoever else she's fighting, maybe Kylo Ren or something like that. I don't know if it's going to be for purchase. I could be wrong. But I think what's going to happen is you're going to see her ignite it, and then she might turn a corner, and they might hand her another lightsaber.
And somebody will hand her an Ultra Saber.
Yeah. That's more durable and all that stuff. And then when they're done, they hand them back and it retracts and all that. I could be wrong, but I could see something like that. I kind of see what you're saying. How does it lock like that? How durable is it when they're going against battle? And will it be for sale? But it does look pretty cool. You got to admit it.
I think it's mocked up. I'm sorry.
Jack, they've already confirmed that it's not, that it's an actual
let's say it's enhanced or something. I don't think it looks as good as the video. I'm sorry. I'm not buying it. I'm still calling shenanigans.
All right. I can't believe this. I thought you were going to say, I'm sorry, I was wrong.
Nope. I'm sticking to my guns until I see it. I just don't believe it. It flows too smooth. Like, I don't know how the mechanism can release it. Like if it was spring, it'd be chick, 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 chick. But to have it come out smooth like that, I'm sorry, I don't get it.
And you probably said the same thing about the iPhone before you got one.
No, once that came out, I'm like, holy mackerel! I still want an iWatch. I just only because Dick Tracy coming through. Seriously, every time someone uses that for a phone call, I think Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
And that's dating myself because I don't even think it's still around, is it?
Dick Tracy?
Yeah. In the comic strips?
I don't think so.
I think that's been done for years, but that's what I think of is Radio Watch.
I gotta watch that again. I think it's on Disney Plus or HBO Max, one of them.
Nah, I'm talking the news strip.
I know, but I'm just saying I'd like to see that again.
Antiques called newspapers that people read the news.
No, but what I liked about the movie is very colorful. It's like true to the comics. Like they use bright.
Yeah, they
colors.
Did. They did. They tried to make it very comic-y, and they did with the color palette, the way things were. Like if somebody was there, like he was more like a black outline in the shadows than actually person in the shadows. I think they once said there was a special effect in every single scene just to make it look like a comic strip.
Fortunate thing about that movie is it was boring.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
But,
so
I'm still calling shenanigans, but I so want to go to that hotel.
So you saw the concept art that they showed?
The concept art. I saw the mock-up of the model of what the ship looks like. That looks cool. Now that's what a Starliner looks like, for Star Wars. Even though we know the Mon Calamari ships were originally luxury vessels, but I thought that the model of the ship was pretty darn cool.
So they released a statement. They said when the launch pod airlock slides open, you'll take your first step into a galaxy far, far away as Star Wars Galaxy Starcruiser comes to life all around you. During your stay aboard the glamorous ship, you may interact with an eclectic group of characters, both familiar and new, possibly including the Starcruiser's strong and charismatic captain, a plucky ship's mechanic, and a galactic superstar who can captivate an entire room with the crook of one jewel-entrusted purple Twi'lek finger. From the
Well, that
concept.
sounds a little ridiculous, but
Well,
I'm just looking at the like the dining room looks very cool.
to me, I hope it's kind of got a little bit of that adventurers club sort of feel, like where they interact with you,
Mm-hmm.
like you're actually supposed to be there. That's what Galaxy's Edge was supposed to be, and it's not. It's like I
Right.
think it might have been like that for the first few days, and probably the employees are like, "I ain't doing this no more." Um, it's just not the same.
Right. Well, that was a lot of the part that a lot of people were disappointed that they thought they would see aliens walk around, and what they were thinking were Star Wars aliens, not like Star Trek aliens. Like, oh, he's got a little ridge on his nose. He's an alien. No, I mean the concepts that we all saw for Galaxy's Edge. There were stormtroopers walking everywhere. There were
Well, they got stormtroopers walking.
Wookiees walking around. There were
There's a Wookiee.
droids going around. I haven't been there, granted, but a lot of people had said, like you had said, it was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, it is.
I thought it was going to be like Star Wars weekends. Remember, we would go and you'd have sand people walking around. You'd have Gamorreans walking through the streets. You'd have stormtroopers harassing people. I thought it was going to be like that. But
Well, they screwed us because originally it was supposed to be that way. But what they did is they decided to make this Star Wars hotel and move that crap over to the Star Wars hotel. So that now you have to pay for that experience.
yeah, it's too bad.
It is. It's too bad. It was funny when I was watching Rogue One, the whole Galaxy's Edge experience reminds me of when they're on Jeddah, when they're walking through the city and there's all those merchants and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, once you'll eventually go to Galaxy's Edge, and if anyone else is going to go, I'm telling you, that's what it looks like. And that's kind of what I'm disappointed is that I didn't want Star Wars land to look like that. I wanted it to look more like the original trilogy or something that we
Well,
were
I
more
mean,
familiar with.
I'd be fine with a marketplace. That's fine by me. But it's the immersion of these characters, and not necessarily characters from the movie. You don't have to have Chewbacca, but you could have a Wookiee. You could. You don't have to have Greedo, but you could have a Rodian walking around.
Well, Chewbacca does walk around and he speaks too.
He walks around, but isn't
You
that
want to see
more like
more?
a sort of like, oh, go see Chewbacca over by?
No,
It's
he just
not.
happens to walk around. It's like he'll like go work on an X-wing or something like that that's broken or something like
Oh,
that.
okay. Well, that's better than I thought. But remember, like when we were at Star Wars weekend, how they had the
Yeah.
crew of rebels just walking around. They might talk
Mm.
with people and stuff, but it wasn't like a photo op.
It's like that though. Like the stormtroopers will walk around and they'll talk to you and they'll say, "Get out of the way." It's like, "Who are you? Are you part of the resistance?" Like so they do act like that. Same thing with Kylo Ren, and then Rey will be hiding, and you might go over. She'll call you over and she'll talk to you and say, "Have you seen any First Order troopers or Kylo Ren or anything like that?" They don't do photo ops. They do that, but I agree there should be more of it. There's,
Mm-hmm.
I would say maybe at the most 8 characters that do that, and they need a lot more. But again, it's not a huge space too. The rides though are really cool. Like
Well, that's one thing everybody raves about. Everybody's like, you got to go on Smuggler's Run
yeah, and the Rise of the Resistance.
and the Rise of Resistance. That everybody
and
loves.
Smuggler's Run, I loved. I was like, wow, just destroy. What is it? Star Tours. After this, it's a completely different experience, and you don't need the 3D glasses because everything is 3D. It's awesome, And then when they released the Rise of Resistance, and I'm so glad I got to go on there before the whole COVID thing started. That thing is just incredible. That blows that away. It's really, really cool. Anyway,
I'll get down there eventually.
Yeah, but getting back to this hotel, I have my doubts. I think it's going to be similar to Galaxy's Edge, where we're going to be disappointed. I don't think it's going to be worth the price of admission, which I think is like $3,000 or
Oh
something.
yeah, it's $1,000 a night with a multi-stay required. So it's not like you could just go one night and like live it up. No, you're supposed to go and you stay there for a certain period of time because there's supposed to be a story that runs concurrent through the ship.
Yeah.
How that works out with going out into the park, coming back, going out into the park, I don't know how they're going to manage that, especially now that they've gotten rid of the park hopper. That when you go, it used to be, we would go and we'd go wherever during the day, but we'd usually go to Epcot at night for dinner. And now it's not. You go to one park a day. So you go to Magic Kingdom, you're going to be staying at the Magic Kingdom. And I think that's also, if you're staying on property, you're already paying a premium. Let people go around to the parks that
They might be just doing that because of COVID, though.
No, this was pre-COVID that they announced that once you go, you're at the park. Then COVID hit and nobody went at all. And it closed.
I was there in December or January before COVID, and I was able to park hop.
No, that's good. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong because, like I said, that's how we would. Well, you would know. We'd hang out with you half the time. That you could go here and there and just enjoy all the parks as you wanted to.
I think that would make sense more for COVID right now. Speaking of COVID, like we both got fully vaccinated, both Jack and I.
Yeah, we both got the shot.
I went to the gym today for my first time.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It's like it's kind of surprised though. They don't check you to see like if you had the vaccine. You're not required to wear masks at the gym.
That's surprising.
Here
you have to wear a mask in Jersey.
Well, it's Florida. They're a little looser over here. It's recommended, but it's not mandatory. And basically no one's wearing a mask in the gym. I'll wear it if I'm walking from station to station, but if I'm lifting and I'm just in my own little space, I just, lower my mask and stuff like that. They provide
I would think it would be if you're doing cardio, it would be much more difficult with the masks than if you're just doing weights.
Well, you got to breathe a lot, like when you're doing weights and stuff like that. I know,
but you can measure your breathing more when you're doing weights than if you're doing cardio. Well, at least I am.
Yeah. They give you your own disinfectant, like a bottle of disinfectant, so you can wipe down your station and stuff like that.
Not a bad idea.
Saunas were open, but they were only allowing 3 people in maximum. But it looked pretty good. I was really glad to be back. I really missed it because I tried to do my best here, but I just needed more equipment. There's only so much that you can lift at home, and you don't have the motivation if you're not in a gym.
Or is it you don't have the distractions?
That's
if you're
true.
At the gym.
Yeah. So anyway, so hopefully this Star Wars Galaxy Starcruiser will be good. I don't know. I like you call shenanigans. I'm going to call disappointment. I have a feeling that it's not going to be that great. I wasn't impressed.
It may be great, but I think it's going to be for the 0.1%. I think it's going to be.
Guess so, yeah.
I think it's going to be priced out of the market for a family going. Do you get 4 nights in Disney World, or do you get 3 nights going on the Star Wars cruiser? I don't know. I think people would go for it. Actually, no, it'd be more like 5 nights at a regular Disney hotel versus 3 nights on this. And a lot of people, I think, are going to rather spend their money on the 5 days versus 3 in this make-believe spaceship hotel. Yeah. Who knows? Good luck to them.
Bill Gates will be there.
Give it a try.
He needs a distraction right now.
Yeah, that was a surprise, but
not much of a surprise. I couldn't imagine living with that guy. The surprise was that there was no prenup.
Well, they started out very early.
You could always arrange that, even while you're married. Anyway,
You know what? But they're so philanthropic. Is that the right word I'm using?
plus even
That
if
you
you,
know what? That they always seemed like they were a nice couple. They made tons
I
of
never even
money,
seen her
but they tried to
before.
do a lot of good.
I never even seen her before. I mean, I'm just saying,
Seriously? Really?
never seen her before.
Oh wow. No, I remember whenever they did stuff for the Gates Foundation, I remember seeing her all over the place. You know, they both did a lot of good in the world, and uh, hopefully this works out for each of them as they go
Yeah,
their ways.
both of them are going to be very happy, regardless. I'm sure. All right, let's move on. So I sent you that image from Darth Vader #11. Did you even read that Darth Vader #11? Are
I'm
you?
not up to it yet.
Did you look
I'm
at that
I'm
image I
up to the
sent?
point where
Can I even
Darth.
talk about it?
I can talk about it because they already spoiled it all over the place.
Yeah.
Where Darth Vader he's going after the Emperor because, you know, this whole volume of Darth Vader has been about Vader just taking it out on everybody who hid his son from him. And they touched on it in the first Star Wars volume or season, if you want to call it, when Vader found out the name of Luke, the pilot who destroyed the Death Star. You know, it was Boba Fett who delivered the news. And it's a great scene where,
Oh, really?
you know, huh?
I said, really? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. There's a great scene where Boba Fett is telling him, you know, and Vader is looking towards the window, and they go through, and you don't see any expression from Vader because he's got the mask. But you start to see the hand kind of go like this, and the window he's looking at starts to buckle and crack. And Boba Fett's like, okay, well, there's your news. I'm out of here. You know, and Vader is just standing, looking out the window, just, and you know he's pissed. Well, they go to volume 2, which is where we are now. It starts off where volume 1 really was up until Empire Strikes Back. Volume 2 starts right afterwards, where Luke is, you know, dealing with the fact that he's kind of failed his training because he should have stayed. He had to rescue his friends, but he feels he's let down the galaxy, and he's trying to make up for it. He's trying to find a new lightsaber because he can't find it. Meanwhile, Vader is going out and just wreaking havoc on anybody he suspects knew he had a son and hid this information from him. And he realizes that, of course, Palpatine knew. So he confronts Palpatine. Palpatine wipes him out and says, I'm going to, you know what? After
What do
all,
you mean wipes them out? They fought each other?
it wasn't even much of a fight. I mean, the Imperial guards attack Vader, and Palpatine does the lightning bolts and, you know, short circuits all of the cybernetic enhancements Vader needs to keep him alive. So Palpatine's like, you know, I'm just going to throw you back where I found you. Brings him back to Mustafar and, you know, just chucks him on the volcanic planet. And it's sort of like, yeah, make your way back to me when you've learned your lesson.
That doesn't make sense, though, because like in Empire, I remember like when he's like bowing before that image of that holographic image of the Emperor. And I think like the Emperor says, you know, we have a new enemy, the son of Skywalker, you know,
Right.
And you know, and Vader, and you know, he's saying he must die, and he goes, but you know, what if he could be turned? It's not like it seemed, you know, it doesn't. It still seems like he's intimidated by the Emperor, you know,
Right.
You know, not like I know, you know,
I know I had
have
a
a
king,
son,
you didn't tell me, you know, but yeah, it takes the premise that gives Vader something to do, and it also allows them to introduce elements from the Rise of Skywalker early,
yeah,
because Vader finds out about Exegol, and I'm at the point where Vader is approaching the unknown space, unknown territories, and there's this huge blobby tentacly monster in a way, you know, that he comes up against. That
I wonder if that's like from Solo. There was a huge tentacly
actually, it
monster.
sounds something like this, but this thing gives off a psychic attacks. So Vader gets all sorts of flashbacks and stuff. Eventually, he makes it to Exegol. He finds out, you know, he sees all this cloning tanks and everything. And of course, there is the hand, you know. I saw that a lot of people like, ooh, that's cool. I thought that was kind of a groaner. Because really, if you think about where that hand had probably gone, you know, fell down, you know, the bottomless shaft of Bespin, which dumped out of Cloud City. Remember, like when he's hanging, things are, you know, garbage is falling down and just
Yeah, I thought his hand
going
dropped
into the
down
planet.
there as well as
If
the
anything,
lightsaber.
yeah, if anything, his hand should have been sucked out one of those chutes that he almost went out with somewhere. So the fact that somebody could go, they find a hand and like, maybe the Emperor of the Galaxy would be interested in this hand, you know, like.
Well, maybe one of those creepy creatures that were working in the carbonite freezing chamber just
The
ran and
Ugnaughts
grabbed
or
it. It's like,
something.
I got it.
I got a hand. Yeah, but then again, like, you know, can you imagine, you know, working in the Emperor's office? Excuse me, sire. I have some pig alien here. He says he has a hand you might be interested in. Like, come on. It's like, hang up. You know, I can't see it. It's too far of a stretch. I thought that was kind of a groaner as a reveal, you know, but hey, you know.
I think I originally heard that the Rise of Skywalker was supposed to start with the lightsaber floating in space. You know, possibly the hand was still with it, but they were going to start it with it was the lightsaber in space.
But even that doesn't, you know, Bespin, I think, is like a gas giant, like Jupiter or Saturn. That once it started falling, it should have just gone down until eventually it was crushed by the atmospheric waste. So I don't know how the lightsaber could even get floating out there. I don't know how, what's her name, Maz found it and had it stored in a box. Who knows?
Well, it's annoying. Again, I hate that they're trying to link all this stuff to the Rise of Skywalker because I hated that movie, and that they're trying to make it sense, like they did it with the Mandalorian too, like what they did with what was his name, Groku, or the child and all that stuff, Baby Yoda. You know, that they were using his blood
Baby
to
Yoda.
help create clones or whatever the hell, or I don't know. I just think it's dumb. You know, it's just leave the Rise of Skywalker alone. It was a mistake. Don't try to convince us that, well, you know, we'll just, maybe if we fix this and we'll connect like Empire Strikes Back to this movie, people will like it a lot more. But now this, I have a question for you. Again, and this could have been in the books. I didn't read the novelization of The Rise of Skywalker. I don't know.
Neither
Did
did
you?
I.
Well, I was reading this, you know, in some forum. So apparently what happened was like, you know, like Rey's parents were, the son was the son of Palpatine. And then he married some woman and they had a kid together and they hit her and stuff like that. So this son is actually the son of Palpatine, but he's a clone of Palpatine. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's not the original Palpatine. See, now I thought that
Now, you see,
this.
that makes more sense to me. It makes more sense to me that Palpatine made a clone, sort of like Jango Fett asked the Caminos to give him a unaltered clone of himself, because there was no Mrs. Fett. Boba was a younger clone of Jango that was
Yeah, I
not
remember.
accelerated healing. It makes more sense for Palpatine to have done that than to have, you know, found a nice little comfy chamber or planet or something and had a son, but didn't want the son, and the son ran away from home. And it makes much more sense if Palpatine had made a younger, unaged clone of himself, so he could do that body switcheroo like they did in
No,
Dark
that's not,
Empire.
I don't think that's what it was. I think that that the clone of Palpatine, this occurred after the death of Palpatine, you know, that he had his son and in the Return of the Jedi. You know what I'm saying? And so they cloned him once. Palpatine didn't necessarily work out that well. I could be getting it all wrong.
But why would
Anyway,
how would Palpatine make a clone of himself after he was dead? What do you mean? Like he had a contingency plan set up or something?
Probably. Well, why is he in that chamber as to begin with? I mean, he's got to have been in there since the Return of the Jedi, right? I mean, it wasn't like all of those, you know, those Snoke clones. They were like failed clones of Palpatine.
Were they Palpatine? Or I don't know if it was all supposed to be Palpatine or it was just he was experimenting. I don't know. I like Dark Empire where they had
me too.
Here's tube after tube of Palpatine clones, and when he needed one, he could just switch his body over.
All right, so I'm going to stop it because, you know, you didn't know about it. I didn't know about it. I just kind of read a blurb about it. I thought you might have known about it, but I'll look more into that to find out what the deal is with his son, if he's a clone or whatever the hell. Anyway, let's move on. So we'll move on to Marvel. Marvel had some big news. Now, I know you didn't see the video that they released. I think it was May 3rd. And
right, they were releasing their slate of releases for.
It was a big surprise for everybody. Yeah, no, they released a video, and Stan Lee basically, you know, he kind of went through, you know, why we go to the movies and all that stuff and why we like comics. It was really nice, very touching and stuff like that. I forget exactly what he said, but we saw most of what we had seen in the MCU previously. We saw crowds reacting to Endgame and stuff like that, which was pretty cool. And then all of a sudden they started like showing us some of Phase 4. One of the things, I don't know, you said you didn't watch that video.
No, I haven't get to it, unfortunately.
They showed us a little bit of Eternals, which was a little bit of a surprise. Mostly we just saw Angelina Jolie, and she looked pretty good. You know, she did, from what I saw. You know, she's holding a sword. Anyway, you know, it was like maybe 10 seconds, but it feels a little more promising because you know what you always have in your mind what you think it's going to be, and in my mind, I thought Eternals was going to be a mess. And it you know, looks like it could be okay, you know?
I mean, I hope they can address, if they've been around for so long and something like Endgame was happening, that they didn't get involved. Like, you know, that
I didn't even think about that.
I hope they have some reason why these people stayed out of events, especially events that would be not even earth-shattering, earth-ending. I mean, that would affect the entire universe, that they decide to say, you know what, let's just sit this one out.
Maybe the Watcher told them to stay out of it. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know. That's the tough thing when you introduce, oh, these characters have been around through the ages. Well, they're big enough events that, you know, if somebody's going to knock the planet out from under you, you'd think you'd get involved a little bit. But we'll see. We'll see how they handle it.
That's kind of like what Charlie was saying during the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Where was Steve Rogers during all this? I mean, I'm sure he was watching it on TV, and he's probably like, the Falcon doesn't have the shield. And he'd be like, oh, well, I'm not getting involved. I don't want to have anything to do with it. I gave him the shield. That's it. Wash my hands of the whole thing, you know?
I wonder if he had a way to go back to that timeline, that alternate timeline where...
No, he was in the time. He was in our timeline.
He came back, but I'm wondering if there was a way for him to go back to where he had lived his whole life.
Why would he want to do that? You know,
well,
like,
if
100
he
years
settled
old.
down with Peggy Carter and had kids, maybe he wants to go back and see the grandkids.
I don't know. I just didn't like it. All right, so the slate. Let's get to the slate here. So we know about Black Widow that's coming out July 9th.
Right.
Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is coming out September 3rd. Eternals is coming out November 5th, which is like pretty cool. Is 3 Marvel movies are coming out this year. Actually 4. Spider-Man No Way Home is coming out December 17th. Not bad. So Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is coming out March 25th, 2022. Thor Love and Thunder is coming out May 6th, 2022. That's right after that, actually. That's pretty cool. And then Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which is a new title, it's coming out July 8th, 2022. So what do you think that one might be?
I know in the comics, Shuri took over for a while as the Black Panther. Honestly, I wish they just recast him.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, just so you could go on with the full Black Panther and have Shuri as...
Sorry.
I don't want to say comic relief, but the man in a chair, for lack of it. I mean, because that was a part of the fun of her character, that, her brother is all serious. And meanwhile, she's like, yeah, here, what? Just tap on this suit for a little bit. And he gets knocked around because of that kinetic battery, or whatever you want to call it. She was a lot of fun as a character that way. I don't know if I want a teenage girl Black Panther. I mean...
I think that a lot of people made her bigger than what she actually was. Like you said, she was more of comic relief. And... Well,
she may be comic relief, but she's
smart. She's intelligent.
She's smart. She's important. So comic relief characters can, if something happens to them, oh, that's a shame. But no, she has important stuff to do. It's just a lot of stuff she does turns out funny because she's poking fun at her brother. So that element of her being in charge kind of takes all that away.
See, now I'll say...
And I always hate the little Panther gloves. I went, ching, 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 with the raisins. I was like, okay, couldn't you, now if she was there and she went, and she ended up with this great Panther armor like T'Challa had with the necklace, I would think that was much cooler than the little Panther gloves. I don't know.
Oh, what is that, in the comics?
No, that was in the movie.
Was it? I don't even remember.
That was in both movies,
Oh, she had, so it's like when she was fighting.
Yeah, she had like these little Panther gloves, like I said, that shot energy beams out.
All right, now I remember.
She goes to that huge battle scene, and the girl who builds nanotech armor still goes into this massive battle with little Panther gloves. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's me. I don't know. I like the character, but I think making her the next Panther kind of takes away the fun that she was in the previous movies.
Yeah, and I had said before, it's like we've seen like characters replaced, like James Bond specifically. We've gone through so many different James Bonds. Like, I think they could do that with Black Panther, Captain America, Iron Man, Spider-Man. They've done it with too.
Easy to find somebody that would pull it off as well as...
The problem with this one, though, is that he died, Chadwick Boseman. And I don't know if that's ever... Well, they did that with The Matrix, though, but she wasn't a major character either. Like, she didn't have the impact that Chadwick Boseman had on his character. So I can see them having an issue with replacing him, like almost like he's irreplaceable, or it's too soon to replace him too. But I think that they realize they got to get this movie out too. It's like, you just can't, because he passed away, you just can't say, well, there will never be another Black Panther movie.
Right.
And again, this was very successful too. If it wasn't for COVID, we would have seen it a lot earlier too. And again, his passing. So yeah, I don't know what they're going to do, but I do kind of wish that they do recast him, like what they should have done with Carrie Fisher too. You know,
Well, and the thing is, you know, they're probably afraid of all the fan hate that like, oh, she's not Princess Leia. But you know what? You got to cut them some slack. It's not that they said, okay, Carrie, you know what? You're getting a little long in the tooth. We're putting you out to pasture, and we're going to replace you with whoever. No, she passed away. People should have at least let the story play out for at least one more movie with somebody else stepping in. It's not because, you know, they wanted to replace Carrie Fisher. No, they were heartbroken that she passed. They should look at Black Panther 2. Whoever fills in Chadwick's boots should get a little bit slack. He's not getting it because they were unhappy with the previous actor. They had to replace him because he passed, and that's still a shock. That's still like
because that came out of nowhere.
That came, he kept his business private, and you have to respect that. But that's a shock. But that's why they're recasting. They're not recasting because they were unhappy with him. So I think fans should allow it to be recasted without crying too much.
The people behind Disney.
I'm sounding a little mean.
No, you're not me. I was going to say the people behind Disney Entertainment, though, I think that they're too emotionally driven with their decisions, and they'll listen to the fans, or they're afraid of making mistakes and stuff like that. They're not thinking with their heads, and that's why I'm afraid that they're not going to replace him, and that they're going to put Suri into the role. It's too soon to put her into the role. Maybe if they were smart, they might, again, if he didn't pass away, do Black Panther 2, kind of introduce her character as more of a warrior fighter, and then maybe give her own spin-off movie or something like that, or Disney Plus series. But to have her as like the lead character in Black Panther 2, which we don't know is going to happen, but I would say there's more than a 50% chance that they're going to go that way, looking at previous examples of the decisions that they made.
Well, they did it in the comic, but when they did it in a comic, one thing is, it's always going to be short-lived when they replace somebody. You knew when Bucky picked up the shield from Captain America, you knew Steve Rogers was eventually going to come back. When Ben Reilly replaced Peter Parker, you knew eventually Peter Parker was coming back. That's comics. Movies are a little bit of a different animal. That doesn't quite work the same way because they don't come out as often, and there's a lot more writing on them because of the money they spend on them.
Yeah.
I can't imagine comic book they would spend $250 million producing. Better be a damn good comic.
Anyway, let's move on to the next one.
Every panel.
So the next one is the Marvels, and that's coming out November 11th, 2022. And that's actually Captain Marvel 2. And they changed the title to the Marvels. Now, this has been getting a lot of, I guess, social media coverage that, like, what's going on here? Why did they change the name from Captain Marvel 2 to just the Marvels? Captain Marvel's name isn't even in this, and it does seem like what they're doing is they're bringing in Monica Rambeau.
That's my guess.
And also Kamala Khan. And if you look at the log, it's the Marvels, So and if you looked at the logo of this, the S is Miss Marvel's logo or symbol from where she wore the black costume.
Oh, sort of like the S lightning bolt kind of look.
Yeah, I can't see them bringing her in there, though, unless they have to totally change her costume.
That was such a cool costume, but I don't know how it would translate.
Yeah, I think there'd be difficulty.
I think so. I mean, the black leather boots, the
a little too risque.
The suit. I don't think that would translate very well into a live version. But I used to love that costume.
It's cool.
Even if it had pants. I mean, I just liked the black, and I liked it offset with the yellow S or lightning bolt and the sash, because the sash was kind of a
Sash was
cool
cool.
effect
Yeah,
that
I
was
agree.
always blowing around. It was a cool costume. I also like the mask too.
Yeah.
I like superheroes with masks. So that was a cool costume, but I don't think it would translate well now that we've seen her in her current costume or uniform, actually more uniform than costume.
Well, doesn't the current Miss Marvel, doesn't she kind of have that logo too?
Uh, Kamala Khan?
Yeah.
I think she does because she wears it in
So maybe
honor
that's what it's
of
from.
her idol, which was
Could
Miss
be
Marvel.
that. It could be that, you know.
You know, but we'll see what happens with that. I'd be
So
surprised if it isn't like what you said, that they're going to bring in Monica Rambeau and maybe she'll go back. She'll become Photon like she is in the comics during it, and introduce Kamala Khan as well.
now
I
it's
think you're on
weird.
track there.
I've been reading a lot of stuff, and there's like all different things. You would think that they would have called it Captain Marvel 2, the Marvels. You know, for them to call it the Marvels, it's almost like she's being punished for some reason. And I'm starting to think that that might be the case for a couple of reasons. Well, prior to Captain Marvel, which I don't think that they could have too much of an issue with, or they kind of let that go, was the whole white male thing that she wasn't crazy about.
Oh, that's a couple of years now. That's gone out of mind.
That little speech. But one of the problems that she did, which I still didn't like, is that she didn't want any white males interviewing her, during the press tour of Captain Marvel, which again, that's not a good look.
No,
Um, Again, you no matter what, you're still alienating people
right.
when you say you're not welcome to my movie, to my press tour, or I just don't want you on my movie set and stuff like that. Um, then there was the Endgame press tour, which she acted very weird, and you can kind of tell that some of the cast members were uncomfortable with her because she was taking a lead in a lot of the questions. Like they would ask questions to the group, and she's like, "I got this," you know, and it was really weird because this was supposed to be the swan song for the Avengers. You would think that maybe Chris Hemsworth or Chris Evans or Robert Downey Jr. or Scarlett Johansson might answer it, but she started like answering a lot of the questions. And when she was with Chris Hemsworth, she was pushing him that she was more powerful than him because her character is more powerful than Thor. And she was doing this. I saw footage too of Don Cheadle looked like he just had it up to here with her. He was just getting sick of her shenanigans during the press tour. So again, Disney and Marvel might be looking at that and saying that she might be more trouble than it's worth, And she made such a big stink that Captain Marvel is the strongest superhero in the MCU. And she kept pushing that over and over and over again. And it's annoying, because again, Henry Cavill, Christopher Reeve, they wouldn't go up to Michael Keaton or Ben Affleck and say, you know what, I'm more powerful than you. I'm stronger than you. You're basically below me. Just so you realize that they
But
realized it
you
was
need
they realized it was an acting gig, and
right.
she took it a little too seriously, where it was more of woman empowerment and stuff like that, which is, it was cool. It was really the first Marvel female led superhero. And I like Captain Marvel. I like that character. And I liked her as Captain Marvel, but
Just
I,
all the stuff that she talked about afterwards.
yeah, I mean, even like when Gal Gadot, when she was promoting Wonder Woman, she never did that stuff. She just was happy, that she was Wonder Woman and that so many young girls were really excited about seeing, their hero on the screen and stuff like that. She didn't make it a men versus woman sort of thing. And, again, I respected her for that. And she even said she goes that everyone is welcome to see my movie. And she goes, I think that was kind of a dig at what Brie Larson had said. So I don't know. It could be, who knows? They might kill her off in this one because maybe Monica Rambeau will be the new Captain Marvel and Kamala Khan will be the new Miss Marvel. They might just be getting sick of her. I could see her going out too as like, I'm going to sacrifice myself to save the other two Marvels, so they could live. But we'll see.
I can't see that happening only because Captain Marvel is such. They've built the character up now. She really, I would say, if Marvel has the equivalent of Wonder Woman in her now. They've built her up to be Marvel's Wonder Woman, and
not in the MCU.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, she's a great character.
She is, but
so I can't see them stopping the movie franchise.
No, but I'm saying, look what they did with Edward Norton. He was Bruce Banner. He started to cause a stink, and they're like, "You're done." It's like we're asking everybody back to reprise their characters, not you. We don't want to have anything to do with you.
Well, that's just it. They may go for a recast, but
yeah,
I don't know. Like I like her in the movies, but like
me too.
Said, when she goes off on her own interviewing, she does rub people the wrong way.
Yeah, I would hope again that maybe she's got people surrounding her that are talking to her and tell her, be a little friendlier to everybody. You're not only impacting one group, you're impacting everybody, to look up to you as a hero and stuff like that. Hopefully that's the case, but I don't know. Next one is Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, which I think we knew that one, or that was leaked.
That title though, that's not a good title.
Neither is Ant-Man. Neither is Ant-Man and the Wasp.
No, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Those are the characters' names.
I just don't.
Quantumania
like
makes it sounds like it's going to be some sort of goofy kids movie,
like a Who movie, Quadrophenia. That's coming out February 17th, 2023. I have no idea
what's Quadrophenia. I don't.
Oh, you're such a square, dude. The Who Quadrophenia.
I guess I'm square.
I'm not going to get into it, but it was a Who
okay,
movie.
All right.
It's about a bunch of punks. I think Sting was in that one. I hope I'm getting that one right. Young Sting was in that movie.
Okay.
I forgot who else is supposed to be in that movie. It's been such a while and all that stuff, but everybody is supposed to be in some sort of movie, like, guest stars and stuff like that, or new characters. I just can't remember. But again, I liked Ant-Man. I liked Ant-Man and the Wasp, but I could have done without them. It's never liked the characters in the comics. I would have never greenlit that if I was the head of Disney. It's like, yeah, we're good without Ant-Man in this MCU.
I don't know. I like the movies. I enjoy them, and I honestly like what they're doing with Ant-Man in the MCU better than
me too.
Hank Pym in the comics. We've talked about that numerous times, how they just keep screwing over Hank Pym at every turn. I like the concept of you have Hank Pym still around, but he's the hardcore science guy. And he's older, a little wiser. And I think Michael Douglas plays him great, being, the cranky old scientist. So I like where they are with Ant-Man in the MCU. And I'm looking forward to it, but I just think it's a terrible title.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'll agree with you on that one. Getting back to the Marvels, I got to go back for a second because you reminded me of something. So I heard this too, that apparently they're trying to build up Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan. And what they're going to do, and I think this is going to cross over into the comics too, they're taking my advice. They're changing her powers, to make them more cooler, where she's going to be more like a Green Lantern character. And they're going to get
that totally different That's a totally different power set than what she has now.
This is just a rumor, but I think it was from a good source. I can't remember who the source was, but I think that they realized that that character is a good character, but she's got weird powers, like I said, so that they might make her more like a Green Lantern for the MCU, which is kind of like Captain Marvel is kind of like that too.
Well, I mean, if there's an MCU counterpart for the Green Lantern, it's Nova.
Oh, Nova. Okay.
The Nova Corps. But his powers are different from Green Lantern. I don't think her power sets is that.
Her powers are horrible. It's like it's a weird Mr. Fantastic like powers.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. She can say, okay, I'm going to make my arm grow super long. And
That
you know what? I'm going to make
sucks.
my arm grow big. Like, you can do all sorts of sight gags with that. That's an easy
That's not
power to work out.
If you're a female superhero, that's not the power that you want. She should be able to fly. She should be able to be really strong. You don't want her stretching to fight criminals and stuff like that.
Well, I mean,
tripping
she
them
could
up
grow
with her
big
hands.
like
That's just lame.
Man. She
That's
can
just
do.
lame. But anyway, I'm not the only one. I'm just saying, I think that since she's going to be a pivotal, important character for the MCU, and they want to change her powers. That's what I'm hearing. I don't know.
I can't see her being pivotal though.
Well, what is she? Is she Palestinian American? I think so.
Yeah, but she's 16 years old. To be
she's a 6-year-old
pivotal, you need to be Tony Stark, who has huge resources to do crazy, wild things. Not a 16-year-old girl.
No, but she's a very popular character that a lot of people look up to. A lot of kids look up to her.
Oh no, she's
adults.
We've talked about it before. I like her as a character. I like her, but she's a fun neighborhood character. Like, it's very hard to make Spider-Man pivotal because he's a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Spider-Man is pivotal at that sort of ground level.
When I say pivotal, I mean that she's going to be elevated, to be, a big character, and she can't be that way if she stretches. That's all I'm saying. Her powers suck.
All right.
They're going to just try to give. I hope they do that, because I will like her a hell of a lot more, if they do that. I've said that from day one. Her powers suck. Give her something better to do, and I'll be right on board. So hopefully they're doing it. Next one is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is coming out May 5th, 2023, which we already knew about that one. Right. And according to James Gunn, that's going to be his last Guardian movie. Second one.
Well, it makes sense that, you do a trilogy.
Yeah.
So he should probably, and you know what? It'll be a long time coming between Galaxy Guardians and Volume 3. I mean, that's a long period of time, and to hold the actors into that sort of position that they have to keep themselves open for that third movie as it gets pushed back further and further. I mean, COVID had a lot to do with it, but you can only keep actors locked down for so long, I guess.
I think Batista said this is his last one too.
I'm surprised he's even back.
Why do you say that?
Well, he caused a lot of controversy too when, they were trying to get rid of James Gunn the first time and they fired him.
Well, that could be part of the reason why he was back, is that
yeah, but they might have gone along with that. But if a character is going to be that, not a character, if an actor is going to be that much of a thorn in their sides, I can't see them wanting to keep him, because what's he going to do now? Complain if somebody else leaves? And I don't know. I'm just surprised that he's still around.
I agree with you. I mean, I kind of was,
and he wasn't very eloquent in how he discussed his displeasure.
I mean, I understood why Disney did what they did, because of the things, he's talking about, pedophilia. That's a very serious subject for a company that mostly caters to children.
Right.
And I guess he just didn't get that. He just saw it as a movie. But I understand why they did what they did. I think it was wrong for them to backbend and bring him back. I mean, once you make a decision, you got to live with it. You don't bring him back. If that's the case, they should bring Gina Carano back And I heard that that's actually a
That
possibility.
may happen. It sounds like that rumbling is starting, but
Yeah, we'll see. I you know what? I'd like to see her back. Um, but we'll get off that
I
one.
mean, yeah, I have no problem with her coming back.
So the
I
last
understand
little,
why they let her go. We've discussed it to death already.
Yeah, we will. We won't go into it. And then the last one that we saw was Fantastic Four. No release date for it, but we saw
No release, no details. We're making a movie. We don't know who's in it, what it's about. We can't tell you anything. But we're making a movie eventually.
They're going to have to start in 2022, I would say, pre-production at least. Well, what am I saying?
I think it's
2021 right now. I would assume it's going to come out now that they have no release date. And Guardians of the Galaxy is May 5th, 2023. This could come out December, but also there might be a Star Wars movie coming out in that December too. So we don't know. Maybe that's part of the reason why there's no release date, because they're not sure whether they should release it in December or hold it for next summer, maybe next May or something. May of 2024, which is still a long way.
They make a better choice than put it. They're two big franchises head to head within a weekend or two. You hope they might have learned their lesson with Solo.
I hope so.
But it's Disney, so who knows?
But I would say, out of all those movies, I'm looking forward to Fantastic Four. But that's so far off.
Fantastic Four, that's my book. But there's some good stuff in there.
It's crap.
No, I want to see Doctor Strange. Yeah. I think that should be good. I want to see Love and Thunder. Ragnarok was just such a blast. I want to see what's his name? Taiki
Waititi.
Yeah. I want to see what he's got up his sleeve. There's some fun stuff on that schedule.
No, I would say the only ones I'm interested in.
There's some things like why you're making it. Like I still think the Eternals is a second attempt. I think they wanted to make the Inhumans a big thing because they didn't have the X-Men. And that didn't work out. So they're going with the Eternals, but now they've got the X-Men.
Well, apparently there's another thing too. Kevin Feige, he was very disappointed with the Inhumans when that was on ABC. It was ABC, right? So he doesn't want anything to do with the Inhumans anymore. And that's part of why they might be changing Kamala Khan's characters too, or her powers, that they don't come from the Inhumans and stuff like that.
Marvel has dealt with the Inhuman issue before on
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I knew that. I never watched it, but I knew they were in
I know you refused to watch it, but they dealt with that issue, and they dealt with it very well, where Kamala Khan's origin would fit in very well with the way things worked in S.H.I.E.L.D. And they don't have to totally disregard. They could disregard the Inhumans team we know from the comics of Black Bolt, Medusa, but the whole aspect of the Inhumans as a race has already been introduced, and they can just have her as part of that.
Oh, we'll see.
That she was exposed to the Tarkin gases, and she went to a little chrysalis and came out as Miss Marvel.
But my point is, I would say there are 11 movies in Phase 4, which is a lot,
Yeah.
I'm only looking forward to Spider-Man. I just want to see what happened after Far From Home. Thor, I'd say I'd want to see that too, just because I like Chris Hemsworth as Thor. I don't know what they're going to do with...
I have no idea what they're going to do.
What's her name? I can't think of her name.
Jane Foster, Natalie Portman.
Natalie Portman, yeah. Yeah. But again, we did see pictures of her. She was buff. She had guns. I was proud of her.
She looks good, but the thing is, she's little.
Yeah. It's like my mother being Thor.
Yeah, let's face it, Annie McCarthy, we were scared of. Once she got mad, and she was 5 foot of fury, you know, when she got going.
Guardians 3, because I like the first two, you know, the 1 and 2. I need to watch those over again, especially in 4K. And Fantastic Four, definitely. I mean,
See, there's that's a bit of stuff you've got.
That's only 4 out of 11. That's not very good. All right, so last news story, because we got to get going here. So you hear Benedict Cumberbatch was supposed to appear in WandaVision?
I heard, and it would have made a lot of sense. But
so yeah, well, I'm just gonna say I'm bringing up this story, and I know, you know, I've gotten feedback and emails and messages and stuff like that unfortunately, without Taylor, we're a little right leaning. I'm gonna try to correct that. I know there's like some words that I don't even like using. Like I hate the words. I don't know what else to use. You know, I didn't know, you know, for something for woke. I think it's a derogatory term. I don't want to use it anymore. So
now you've got me. I'm like suspenseful.
I'm going to use the word pushing identity politics instead, because that applies to both sides, you know, and they both do it. But anyway, this has to do with Kevin Feige and what he said with Rolling Stone. And I feel like he's pushing identity politics. And I'm not very happy with what he said. But anyway, I'll read what he said. So he said, they asked him, you know, why didn't you include Doctor Strange? Or why did you basically take Benedict Cumberbatch out of there? And he said, some people might say, oh, it would have been so cool to see Doctor Strange, but it would have taken away from Wanda. We didn't want the end of the show to be I can't even say this word. Commoditized to go to the next movie. Here's the white guy. Let me show you how your powers work. That's what pissed me off, because again, what is it? Is it wrong, you know, to be a white guy now all of a sudden? I mean, if you replace that,
it has been for years, Joe,
with a female, he probably would have been fired. You know, people of color, he would have been fired. Why isn't he fired by saying white guy? He's basically saying that this is derogatory to have a white guy basically. But again, when you look at Doctor Strange, he's the master of mystic arts. He's the sorcerer supreme. Why wouldn't he tell her how magic works?
Well, actually, what they could have done is have him show up and lose.
Yeah.
Not lose, and in fact that she defeats him, but he tries to stop her and she gets away anyway with the help of this demonic book that she's playing around with. I mean, Scython is one of the elder demons in the MCU. So it could have been something was unleashed, caught Strange by surprise, and Wanda knocks him on his ass and escapes. You know, that would have cemented her as a super threat. The fact that she could knock the Sorcerer Supreme around and get away. So they could have done that very easily, and that would make more sense than have him show up and teach her how to use her powers. But then again, probably by the time WandaVision was there, they've had Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness written, and maybe they'd have to go back and change the movie. So they're like, okay, well, let's just pretend he never showed up. How Doctor Strange would not notice the dark hole being opened and his powers being used in the comics, I can't imagine it. But
well, they said that like all of those advertisements were actually meant as a way for him to communicate with her. That was how it was written. That all those ads that she was seeing was actually him communicating with her. So
I don't know. I don't see how that would.
Well, that's true. I mean, that's what he said. He basically that originally that was the whole thing. Is that's how Doctor Strange was able to communicate with her.
Or you know what would have probably made a little more sense? That was Dormammu and his daughter, because it was the same man and woman in every commercial. Now, if it was Dormammu and Umar, I think is the daughter's name, that would make sense because they tie into that whole demonic sort of thing as well. That maybe they would have been them tweaking her through the Darkhold as well, but that's might be a little too far out there.
Well, again, that's what the plan was. Apparently, the plan was she was going to be the big bad in the MCU, and this was kind of like a precursor to it before it all went down. But for some reason, they decided that they didn't want to go that way, and that she needed to redeem herself and be a good person.
That could be it. I mean, they don't. Maybe they do want to redeem Wanda Maximoff, and if they have her cross that line too much, there's kind of just no going back.
Well, the one good thing about it is, like I said, I think she sucks, Elizabeth Olsen. I don't think that she can hold herself as a main bad person in the MCU. So I'm kind of glad that they did do away with that. I'm fine with.
Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm fine with Doctor Strange not showing up. What I'm not fine about is Kevin Feige's words. You know, he didn't have to say that.
Right.
You know, why would we put some white guy to tell her how to use her powers and stuff like that? I personally think he should be fired for that statement, you know, and Disney can fire him. That won't happen. But I think
he brings in too much money. He's doing too much.
No, he does. But I think in a way, you know, what I said is coming true, is that we're starting to see what they did back in 2014 with the comics. Is they're making, you know, they're trying to make it more diverse by getting rid of, you know, the main or the original characters to replace them with either people of color or, you know, female characters. And like I said in the very beginning, if you want to see a very good diverse show that shows a lot of diverse characters and you get totally behind all those characters, watch Invincible. And it's perfect example, again, how you can create superheroes that are diverse. And as long as they have a good story, you're going to follow them. They can be the crappiest superhero in the world, which is not true in Invincible because there are a lot of cool superheroes. But if you have a good story, that's what's important. You know, that has to come first always. Like, I know, like, again, like when you look at how sometimes they'll have a good story, even in comics, and they're like, well, let's put Superman or Spider-Man in there to sell it because, like, you know, they'll sell comics because everybody likes them. Why not put new and original characters, new and original diverse characters with a good story in there? You know what I'm saying? As opposed to putting the big guns in there. I guess that's what I was trying to say.
Well, I mean, you do have a point. Story has to take precedence over diversity. What's the big word that they're using at DC? Not integration.
Inclusion?
Inclusion. Story has to take precedence over inclusion. You have to have a good reason for things to be there rather than, oh, would it be cool if, you know, I think that's the problem, like what happened with Fox's X-Men, The Last Stand. Oh, it would be cool. We have to have this character in. Is there a story reason for him to be there? No, but we need to put him in. That's not a compelling
You mean Juggernaut?
Reason.
Juggernaut?
Like Juggernaut, there's no reason for Juggernaut to really be there except to, you know, have that little chase scene. But I mean, they had different characters, like side characters. I think they brought in that the mutant, Magneto's mutant mob, whatever it was. You need to have a reason to have them there. In Rise of Skywalker, great to have Kerry Russell in it, but you need to you have somebody like that, and you give them a compelling storyline to use them where people or viewers, audience, whatever, are going to say, wow, that character was great. You know, she was really great in that. You can't say that about Kerry Russell in Rise of Skywalker. You can't say that about anybody in Rise of Skywalker. Story has to come first. And I think we're getting a little bit too much into the world where inclusion and diversity are becoming equal to story. And inclusion and diversity cannot be strong enough just to hold a movie together. It's the story that's the cement that keeps everything together, everything moving, keeps people interested. And unfortunately, like I said, the studios, well, not the studios, let's put it, the genre, let's say, is starting to take that too much to heart. And it's great to see a diverse cast and everything, but as great as your diverse cast can be, they've got to have something. That's the problem I've had. I've always had ideas for a Star Trek crew for a story or something, but I could never come up with a good storyline to use them in that isn't already out there in one of the Star Trek books or series. It's tough to look at Star Trek and come up with something new. So as cool as a crew could be that I could make, I couldn't think of something original enough that hasn't been done yet. And that's sort of like what I see in some of these casting decisions versus story decisions. You gotta have a good story to hold it together. And that's what will keep people watching this movie, loving this movie, repeat business at the box office, that people are like, that was so good, I'm gonna go see it again. The studios, they just have to get that, you know, so.
Very well said.
All right, I'm jumping off my soapbox. Go back on,
no, I almost shed a tear with that one. No, actually, no, that was very well said. I liked what you had to say. And we'll just leave it
Sometimes
at that.
I surprise myself.
All right, let's get into the Bad Batch so we can call this a night.
Okay, Bad Batch was great. Tell us, Joe, where they can contact you.
Tell us what?
Tell us where our listeners can contact you.
Oh, okay. Wait, let's get a little bit into this.
Okay.
So what did you rate it at? What did you say the first episode? It's called Aftermath.
Aftermath, I like where it's going. I like the Bad Batch. There are certain points about that group that are a little decisive. But as a group of characters, I like them. I thought this was a very strong setup episode. I like the fact that it's after the Clone Wars, because honestly, I think the Clone Wars have been beaten to death. You know, that period between the Clone Wars and A New Hope is so ripe for great stories. I like the fact that it's set in that time setting. What I don't particularly care for, I didn't see the point of bringing Grand Moff Tarkin in. Like, it was sort of like, we need to drop a name in here of somebody who, you know, is going to be seen as a threat or something. Tarkin isn't as much of that as I think. Like, I liked him in Rebels because, you know, he came in to clean up a planet because it was just too chaotic. That's what I could see. I can't see him.
I liked him
Being interested in a cloning program, even though.
But he kind of explained, you know, why they did away with the clones and went with recruits instead, which I thought was kind of cool. You know, that you got to hear that story from him.
I know we got that story, but I don't know. It just didn't seem Moff Tarkin-y enough. For me, but I did love that scene when in the training room where, you know, they take out all the droids that have stun and then they switch over to the live rounds. I thought that whole scene was great. That was a lot of fun.
No, I liked it too, but this is my problem with Tarkin, in this episode is if you wanted to kill him, why didn't you just kill him? Why does he have to go through all this stuff? It's like, again, he used the live rounds and he's like, damn them, and then he sends him out onto some excursion. And
it would have worked too if not for those crazy clones and their little sidekick.
It's like, they'll die now and then they come back and it's like treason, traitors, puts them in the brig. Kill them. What are you waiting for? Just kill them. You should have killed him from the very beginning if you didn't trust them and stuff like that. But it's like that stupid trope where it's like, like where Batman gets captured by the Penguin and is like put on some rack and all that stuff underneath or above an alligator pit. It's like, just kill him. Don't walk away and say, oh, we have, reservations at some restaurant. We can't stay to watch you die. Dynamic dimwits.
I expect you to die, Mr. Bond.
But that was, I just thought there was a lot of silly stuff with that. I just want to say how I felt about it.
Well, I mean, I will wrap. While I enjoyed the episode, I liked a lot of it. The two things that bothered me were the character designs, where I thought the characters looked great at the last season of the Clone Wars that we got. This animation, they looked a little too edgy in their facial, not expressions, just their face design. The Clone Wars, when it started, put me off because everybody was angled, and almost looked like the puppets carved out of wood or something. That kind of look is back, and I'm not a fan of that. Round those edges, guys. The other thing is I don't like the little girl, Omega. I don't know. It's like they had to add a kid's sidekick somehow or something.
This is like Bucky, or Robin.
Yeah, but
so kids could be a part of it.
I kind of get it, but like when she was there and she had a little robot friend, a little cute robot, I'm glad that the little cute robot didn't go along for the trip.
I agree.
Because she's enough in and of herself. And maybe it'll do something interesting with the character. But I just don't see any reason for her to be along. But it's only the first episode. Maybe there's more to that story. We know she's the last proto-clone or whatever you want to call them. So I hope they do something interesting with her rather than just have her along for the ride.
All right. So
am I saying that right?
Yeah. Because I wanted to say something, but
No, go ahead. Go for it.
All right. So unlike you, I hated the Bad Batch when they did that. I can't stand Wrecker. He annoys the hell out of me. But when the Bad Batch showed up in the Clone Wars, couldn't stand them. I thought that they were so dumb. I really didn't like that. Because again, at that point, I know we had the Ahsoka Tano thing going on. There was another thing too. Was it Anakin? I forget.
No, they had three smaller parts within. The first was Ahsoka in Life After the Jedi. Then when she joined up with the Clone Fleet, and then the
no, but they had the Bad Batch was first. Then they had Ahsoka, and then I forget who was the last one. I don't know if it was Anakin was involved or Obi-Wan. I don't know, but whatever. The Bad Batch was my least favorite of that little trilogy that they had for that last season. I just couldn't stand them. But anyway, this show, loved it. Blown away. I was like so surprised because I was waiting to just hate it. And like when I turned it on and I saw it was an hour and 14 minutes, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. An hour and 14 minutes. I have to be tortured for this long. And I enjoyed every minute of it. I was really surprised how much I liked this. I would give this a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it that much.
This is like, wait, you gave something a 9.5? Now you're at
Yes.
a 9?
I
Joe
got
Hogarty, are you taking vitamins or something? Or I don't know, that you're in a good mood? I don't know. This is a whole new Joe Hogarty that we're seeing tonight, folks.
no, it's like, I had like 3 ghosts visit me. Like one was Yoda, one was Spider-Man, and I don't know who the other one
And
was.
one was Mark Ruffalo.
Well, no, let's not go there. But no, I liked it. I was surprised because it was a good story, and you don't have to watch Clone Wars
Right.
to enjoy this, because it takes place right after Revenge of the Sith, or right around that time where Order 66 is executed. And, what I liked about it is that Crosshairs still had that programming in him, and he becomes the big bad in this, which I thought was really cool. That was a surprise. My problem with the Bad Batch, like in the original Clone Wars, is that they were imperfectly perfect. They're a bunch of misfits and all that stuff, but they never screwed up. In this one, they do screw up. They get injured, they make mistakes, they make wrong calls. So I like that whole aspect about them. I saw it coming where she was a clone right away. As soon as she opened her mouth and she had a New Zealand accent, I was like, she's a clone.
That was what tipped you off?
Yeah. It's like, come on, she's a clone, and again, she's a little kid. But this is what I don't understand. Right. So she's got this New Zealand accent. So if she's raised by that, what was it? The comedian, that female comedian,
right.
Basically was her mother and all that stuff. Wouldn't she sound more like her? I mean, you're not born with an accent. It's like you learn words from your parents and stuff like that. I doubt that she communicated with the clones. So I think that that's a little strange. I think that they just threw that New Zealand accent in there to give us a clue that she might be cloned, but it didn't work. It didn't make any sense for me. I liked her. You see, now I thought it was odd that you didn't like her. I didn't have a problem with her. There was nothing in this episode, even when she rescued them towards the end, I didn't have a problem with it. I like you. I agree with. I can't stand the designs of the characters. I never liked them. From the very inception of when they made Clone Wars, the animated series, they all look like that crap. They look kind of like, and I love Dexter's Laboratory, but that's what they kind of copied, the look of them from, because I think it was Genndy Tartakoff who did the Clone Wars, so he kind of used that animation.
But you see, when you do animation, you're not getting that. It's not the look completely.
No, it is.
It's the way it's animated, where it's
that's for
instead
you.
of rounded, it's made up of angles, and that doesn't. When they have their armor on, everything is nice and round.
Oh, it is, yeah. Like this, the troopers and the clone troopers, they look fantastic.
Why is it that when you look at their face, they're all angled? That's what I just don't like about it.
No, I can't stand it. It's like, because that they can make them look better, but for some reason, someone is telling them they look great. But to me, they look like the Disney Infinity figures, and I really didn't like the design of them either.
I think the last season of Clone Wars, they still look like the Disney Infinity figures a bit, which I love that styling.
No,
here you go. Here's a Disney Infinity guy.
But they're cool.
I'll
take that back.
Look. I like that look, but it's the roundness makes it, they look unnatural. Now, if their helmets were angled, that would make a little bit of sense because that's artificial. But a person's face has curve to it, not angled edges. So,
like I say, I don't care about the edges. I do see them and all that stuff. I just don't like the design of what they look like. And I know that they could be so much better, because if you look at the ships, you look at the planets and stuff like that. Again, the clone troopers with their helmets on, everything looks great. And then you see Tarkin, it's like, what the hell? It's like, why does he have to look like that? Just, it could look not photorealistic, but something really cool.
No, in Rebels, Tarkin looked pretty good, I thought.
I don't remember what he looked like in Rebels.
With this, they made because in Rebels, maybe his head was a little like this, but in this it's like, his head's like a diamond,
I don't know.
But
Again, it bothers me again that nobody's
maybe
saying,
he was younger, so he had more hair. I don't know.
Hey guys, why don't we change the design of these characters to make them look a little bit more realistic, or something out of a good Pixar movie or a good Disney animated movie, not this crap that you're doing. That's the one thing that's distracting. It's like, why would you do something like that? It's
Right.
really annoying. And all right, the thing I can't stand is Wrecker. Oh my God. It's like he's constantly yelling his sentences. He never takes a break with his yelling. Even when he whispers, he yells. It's just so annoying. And I think that he'd have been such a cool character if he was silent but deadly, that he was.
But he's the big dumb guy.
But he doesn't
big,
have
strong,
to
dumb
be.
guy.
He could be a big, strong, dumb guy and not talk as much as he does. And like every time like he does something, it's like, oh yeah, and it's like so annoying. If I was part of the Bad Batch, he wouldn't last 2 weeks. He just happened to disappear somehow in the night. I just couldn't deal with him.
Oh my God.
The other thing I can't stand, and I love Tom Kane, and I feel bad he had a stroke last year, but I can't stand that lame, radio announcer crap that they still do.
Yes, that started, and I was like, oh my God, they brought him back. It's the end of the Clone Wars, and like, I was like, no, don't bring him back.
And again, I love Tom Kane, and again, he suffered a stroke, and apparently it was really bad. I think he was talking after his stroke because I can tell a difference. He sounded a little off. For me, maybe I was looking for it, but and maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was done before, but something sounded a little weird. And again, I feel bad for him. They got to get rid of that crap because it just makes it so infantile. It's like you put that and Wrecker in there, and it's like, yeah, whatever. This is like for 3-year-olds.
Well, the narrator, that always turned me off of the Clone Wars. I'd rather see a scroll maybe go up in the front.
Kids
to give it
read.
more of a Star Wars feel, but I just never liked the narrator, and that continued on, and it looks like it's continuing on in the Clone Wars, or maybe that's it for the narrator. As sort of he's sort of the bridge between the Clone Wars and the Bad Batch. That as we go forward, the narrator has been left behind.
Wishful thinking on your part. That's not going to happen, though. Again, it's like they won't change the character design. They won't change the opening. They feel that that's part of the success. They never look at the bad parts of what they do with the Clone Wars and Rebels. And when the Rebels have that opening? No, they didn't.
Rebels didn't have a. Rebels would give like a little saying from the Force or something like that. Of patience is. Oh no, that was Clone Wars.
Yeah, no, I think Rebels might have just started. Rebels, I think, might have just started.
Yeah, I think it just started.
So you're that young Jedi in the beginning.
Yeah, Kanan.
Caleb.
Caleb is Kanan. You didn't get that?
No, that's actually Kanan. No, I didn't get that.
Yeah, that's Kanan. He grows up to be Kanan.
Oh, because I was going to say that's Freddie Prinze Jr.'s voice.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that. So he changes his name to Kanan?
To kind of go undercover, yes.
My question is...
Don't feel bad. I did not know that until Patrick pointed out.
Oh, really?
Patrick read one of the collected comics series of the origin of Kanan, and he was Caleb, and Patrick's like, you know who that is, Dad? Like a kid Jedi. I don't know.
I was just looking at the voice cast, and I was like, Freddie Prinze Jr. I was like, why didn't they get a kid to do his voice? Although he sounded like a kid, I didn't realize that was him.
Well, there you go.
I like Hunter. I like Hunter. I think he's a cool character. He's my favorite. Kind of reminds me of Rambo,
Mm-hmm.
with the headband and the long hair and all that stuff. I liked that we saw the Emperor's speech from Revenge of the Sith. I thought that was kind of cool. But again, I thought it was like, of course, Wrecker couldn't keep his mouth shut while it was
Is
going
that what
on.
caused it the point?
What?
Record brought it down to a 9.
Yeah. Yeah, all those things. Like I said, the design, the radio announcer crap and Wrecker. Yeah, get him out. Kill off Wrecker next episode. I'd go up to a 9.5 with them. What else was I going to say? But you know what was kind of cool I noticed too? They had these little animations that I'm like, you guys, that's something else. Like when they were in the brig, one of them, it might have been Echo or it might have been the tech guy. He was sitting on the bench and he was just shaking his legs, like back and forth, like his knees were knocking and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why did they put that in there? Because that was pretty damn cool if they put that in there, because they could have easily animated it to just have him sit there. But I was like, I like little touches like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that, well, they've added that a lot in, I noticed that in the last season of the Clone Wars, that just because your attention is here doesn't mean everything goes stock still over here. Like, even if they're walking through the jungle and, you see, you're looking down through a tree and then a little critter goes by, even though they're having a conversation. Little touches like that add a lot of realism to it. And I like when they do that. I like when they do that in the movies, that, just because the action is here doesn't mean the rest of the world has stopped everywhere else. It gives you more, it's touches like that bring you more into it. Like, here it is, a bad situation, and they're cooling their jets in the detention cell. And, these are guys who are always moving. To see that the other ones are restless. I think one of the other ones was sitting on the floor going like this, hitting his head against the wall. These are touches that pull you in, that you might not be aware of it, but like I said, that's what happens in the real world. Just because your attention here doesn't mean the rest of the world stops.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's
real.
nice.
Yeah.
It's nice to see touches like that in it.
Yeah. So one last question. I'm hoping you can answer this. J19. What is that? That's where they're going. Because what's his name? Oh, that guy I like. I forgot his name. Hunter. He said, our next destination is J19, and they're looking for somebody there. You don't know what it is?
Doesn't mean anything. The 19th planet of the J system.
I think they said it was mentioned in the Clone Wars a couple of times.
No, I mean, I haven't watched all the Clone Wars.
Oh, you haven't?
No. Okay. The first few seasons were tough. I couldn't watch it. It was the animation. The animation definitely improved in the Clone Wars as it went along. And that early stuff I just found very tough to watch. Especially, I mean, if you look at the first season of what Ahsoka looked like versus the later seasons, she changed a lot. Her character, like I said, the animation and the character design changed significantly, where they started to look more human versus carved puppets. So, like I said, I can never get through them. I know there's a lot of stuff. Taylor watched it. Patrick watched it. They're like, "Oh no, this was so cool." I can't watch it because I can't get past the animation. It's the same way with a comic book. No matter how good the story is, if the art just looks terrible, I just can't get through it. It's both things have to work in tandem. Your animation has to be good, and the story has to be good. Otherwise, I just can't get through it.
Yeah, you could shine a turd up, but it's still a turd.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll end it on that note. All right, so let's wrap this one up. So, Jack, can you tell everyone where they can find you?
You can find me at Jack M at WDW.
WDW.
You see too many W's.
Well, yeah, I mess it up all the time.
.com.
Yeah, if you want, you can email me at joe@wdwnt.com or send me a friend request on Facebook. And if you like our show and enjoy other WDWNT podcasts and would like to become a Patreon supporter, please visit WDWNT's Patreon page at www.patreon.com/WDWNT. Look at all the W's I have to say. And check out Walt Disney World News Today, as well as Universal Parks News Today for all your Disney and Universal news. And also, please visit the Carousel of Products. There is a ton of fun WDWNT merchandise on sale.
But no nerd alert.
You don't know.
Demand your nerd alert merchandise.
Finally, please subscribe to the WDWNT Entertainment channel on YouTube, where you can find Nerd Alert and other WDWNT original programming available there. All right, so with that, this will be the end of WDWNT Nerd Alert Season 7, Episode 15. So until next time, see you.
Good night, all, and be good to each other.